and committee updates, and want to make sure that you are aware of sort of where we're at in the process of gathering information from our various stakeholders and making sure that we are prepared to think about developing an informed proposal for the health and safety of all upon our return to school. So a review of the workflow up until this point, we began the work last summer. Then in December, Dr. Mosier asked Dr. Smith, myself, and Mrs. Umar to go ahead and start with the school reopening planning. So we presented to staff and community. We held staff and community input sessions. We presented to the board in January. We've been in some planning and consultation with the North Shore Health Department. We went through another round of meetings with both the community and the staff. And currently we're in a place where we are working with the staff and family to collect some more hard survey data so we can make some more firm decisions around what school needs to exactly look like and scheduling. And then we also engaged in a planning piece today with the North Shore Health Department. From there, we'll be reviewing and revising our initial plans, and we'll present that information to the school board in February. So today we sent home staff surveys to the staff, and we will be expecting those back on February 4th from the staff so we can begin to making some staffing decisions around what we might need to accommodate, as well as sending out a family survey, which will be sent out on the 2nd, tomorrow. And we will have that due February 7th, which will give us some time to do some follow-up with those families who maybe don't engage initially with the survey, so we can get their commitment about whether or not they will be returning to school in person or virtually. We did try to work with some various images throughout the survey to help both staff and families have an understanding of what the school environment will be like if their student returns and some of those mitigation strategies that will need to be adhered to.
Can I ask a question? Or I'm happy to hold it till the end too, but.
Sure.
Okay, the family survey, is this going to be asking for like a commitment at this point?
Yes.
Will you return with, you know, some language provide whatever, regardless of the plan? So it's a commitment at this point.
Yep. So it will be, would you commit to an in-person 40-week model, or would you want a virtual model? And then basically from there, what that will allow us to do with that commitment is be able to plan more effectively around our staffing and making sure, I guess too, like in our presentation last week to the community too, we looked at some thresholds, particularly in our older grades based on the guidelines for distancing. And that may dictate whether or not we have to move from a 4-day to a cohort model based on numbers.
Okay, and the staff survey, I guess one of my overarching questions is that going to be like a commitment or more of a comfort level safety? Because I assume in your recommendation, you'll allow for us to have some alternatives for staff that don't feel safe, or you'll say we have to have all staff return to make this work. So what are we gauging with the staff?
So the questions for the staff are really largely on whether or not, if school were to reopen, that they would intend to return. Would they intend to take medical leave and commit to working virtually, or would they take a leave of absence? We do ask the question within the survey if that question would change if there were vaccination. And we also are asking staff about their comfort level too, so that we have some insightful information. So if we do need to reach out and talk with some people just about some of their concerns, we're able to do so.
Okay, so all of it.
Madam Chair, may I attempt to respond to Ms. Bailey's question?
Yep.
Considering that we may have a sizable number of our staff who may want to stay virtual, we probably can't just say, do you want to work from home or not? There are going to have to be some criteria which will allow that. It's probably not going to be possible to have everybody. Let's say if 80% of the staff say they want to work virtually, we just can't do it.
Well, we know that, I mean, right now it's about 56%, right? Based on that. I don't know how many staff were surveyed and the survey Mr. Birmingham shared for the NEA. Right?
I'm gonna guess that it's higher than that.
Okay.
Right. I'm
Okay.
guessing though that the district will at some point have to, if a teacher medically needs to stay home, that they'll have to provide the
That's-
appropriate paperwork, but
Right.
they can't just opt to stay home because they want to.
I am developing a document and a process of where if it's based on medical leave, we'll have to follow a fairly tight
Mhm.
process. Otherwise, we are going to find. I could be wrong, and the principals know better than I do, but I think it's higher than 50%.
Want to stay virtual.
Yes.
Oh,
Am I right or wrong on that?
In our initial survey, it was about 41% wanted to remain virtual. And what it would be, 59% or so of people were interested in some sort of hybrid or in-person model. But that also includes non-instructional staff too. So we also will have to parcel that out then in this particular survey,
okay.
because that was just a general soft survey collection. So that's what we saw
Okay.
there. And I know that understanding that there's more of a commitment here at this point, I think will give us a truer answer to how people are truly feeling about the potential of return.
Well, those numbers are better, but even what'd you say, 41%,
Mhm.
we would be hard to accommodate that.
Yeah, even with that. Mhm.
Okay.
And
During-
Danielle, if I could just provide some clarification. I know earlier you mentioned the NEA and Tim McCarthy had sent out a survey as well to the association. And I just think it's important to note for people that are on the call, there is a percentage of our staff population who do belong to the association. And then there's another percentage of individuals that don't. And so this survey that we created was really important because we feel like it gets at the voice of all of our staff members, no matter what capacity they're working in.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was unclear how many people that survey was representing. So thank you.
I agree. And also the last survey that we gave did not ask staff if they intended to return. It more so asked their preference on which model they would like to see. This one asked, do you intend to return? So the question is slightly different.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
So we had the opportunity to meet with RightWay Bus Company last Thursday, and we had a great meeting. A couple of things came out of that meeting. One was just kind of looking at their mitigation strategies on a bus route to and from school and what that would look like in terms of the numbers of students who would be able to sit in a seat, in terms of clustering students by families. So if there are siblings that belong to the same families and having them be able to sit together on the bus. We also talked about important things like the cost for hand sanitizer stations and what that would look like on a bus. And we found out that it's $13 a gallon because we'd actually share half of that cost with Nicolay High School because we would be sharing our buses. We talked a lot about the importance of cross ventilation and being able to crack windows. They also have a roof hatch that they would be able to bump up to increase the ventilation as well. And then there is also a very nominal fee of $2 a day for cleaning before the kids would enter the bus, and then again after they exit the bus. So they'd be cleaning the bus twice for our own students. And so that was nice to hear. And then we talked to them about language that we could use that would be consistent when we're also relaying messages and communications to our families and to our staff. And When you know it, they've done this so many times, they have a wonderful letter, a sample of a letter that they were able to provide us with that also contains some really important and valuable information as well. And so some of the things that they talked about were, students must self-screen for COVID symptoms daily before boarding the bus. All students would be required to continue to wear their face covering. Only one family would be allowed per seat, reducing the capacity of each bus. Bus seating assignments would be established as well as followed to assist in potential contact tracing measures. No food or beverages would be allowed, which has always been that way for our elementary students. Passengers will not be able to use the seat directly behind the driver. Vehicles would be sanitized daily to include all interior surfaces through the use of spray equipment that dispenses COVID-19 approved disinfectant. The driver would wipe down high touch point surfaces, just like we talked about, railings, the tops of the seats, between routes and between tiers. Hand sanitizer stations, as I had mentioned earlier, will be available at the bus entrance. So as the students get on and off of the bus, they'd have that opportunity to use the hand sanitizer. All drivers are also required to wear their face masks. Employees are reporting body temperature and answering screening questions prior to their shifts to ensure that those who are experiencing signs and/or symptoms of COVID-19 remain at home and do not report for duty for that day. Drivers are trained and furnished with information about COVID-19, for example, how it spreads and the exposure risks, as well as proper hand sanitizing, hand washing practices, and other safety precautions. So I felt like I walked away from the meeting with a level of comfort there. I think there'd been a great deal of thought by RightWay Bus Company to ensure that the drivers, as well as the students that are on the bus, are all remaining safe as well. And that was one of the questions that was on the family that was on the family survey as well, that looks at transportation.
So a lot has been happening behind the scenes in the buildings and also with the staff. We have been meeting with the staff almost weekly across the district and also within our schools. Some things coming up on the docket. There will be some teacher consultations for classroom layout. Staff members will be meeting with a member of the custodial staff and member of the administration to make sure that they have that opportunity to meet one-on-one. Because every classroom is just shaped a little bit differently and has different items within it. And so every classroom will receive that personalized consultation and sign off that the classroom layout meets expectations for school reopening protocol. Included in the staff survey this week is a request form for additional cleaning supplies, any extra PPE that staff would like to request, if there's any specialized equipment that they are interested in getting for themselves or for their classroom. We are also in the midst of designing a staff safety training and also designing student safety lessons for those review of those health and safety protocol. In addition to that work, some of our next steps, we have a meeting with Airmark, who is our food service provider. I believe that is tomorrow. We've been meeting with a number of different groups over the last couple of weeks. We will collect and analyze the survey information. Dr. Smith, Ms. Young, and I have a meeting on Friday evening where we're going to take all the staff information and make sure that we thoroughly review it and analyze it. And we'll do the same process with the community information next week. We will plan to make changes to the school reopening handbook, and then we will present our final school reopening presentation at the school board meeting.
Are there any questions or feedback?